people showed up.
Yeah, look at all the collaboration going on, Pat. I see my new friend James. Hi, James.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. I'm glad we're gonna, have a new partnership, right?
Yeah, sounds like fun.
All
It's all
right.
good.
See.
It's actually overwhelming. Linda, my colleague and I are overwhelmed how many things were going on that we had no idea until now.
Well, James, one of the things that we were just talking about before we let you guys all into the romper room effect here, all the magic windows. But because the other work that I do with you have been doing a little bit more with in regards to supporting people who have hearing loss. Um, the work that's happening at the Office of the Chief Disability Office, which is the most cumbersome thing to say, with Chris Woodfill and the leadership that he's giving a state of New York around making sure that individuals who have any the hearing loss are included. Ironically, I just filled out a form I have a son with a disability, and I'm his rep payee, and we had to do the new paperwork, and it says, "What language would you like us to communicate?" And there's 12 listed. Is ASL on the list? No. So I,
Wow.
I wrote I made a box and I put ASL on the form, and I'm sending it back that way. So I'm not checking it, obviously, because I don't need it, but I'm like, hello, could we add
Absolutely.
ASL, please? Not, it just doesn't have to be an accommodation. So anyway, there's my advocacy point. I'll be quiet.
Wow.
Sorry, Brady.
Well, welcome everyone to our Rochester Advisory Committee meeting for Advanced to Apprenticeship. Thank you very much for being here today. It's our last one for 2025, and we have one more scheduled in March as a part of our Council of Developmental Disabilities here in New York grant. And then the reins are going to be taken over by our Regional Manufacturing Alliance partner. So we're very excited with the growth and want to tell you all about it. All right. So again, welcome. Uh-oh, no, that's not what we want to do. I've got too many screens open here. I'm trying to move over our little participant list in case anyone else comes. All right, here we go. So thank you again for joining our committee. We're going to talk about advanced to apprenticeship today. We also call it A2A, and it's officially in sustainability under MACNY's leadership, with SCDD providing supplemental support for recruitment, training, and technical assistance. In Rochester, our Rochester Technology and Manufacturing Association, RTMA, is leading both inclusive pre-apprenticeship programs, advanced to apprenticeship, as well as real life Rosies. And RTMA has brought great energy and persistence and perseverance in reaching all of our program goals, with hitting the road running. And we're ending the year with two cohorts that are under their belt already. So today we want to highlight the great work that has been done over the last quarter. So we're talking September to December. And we want to also officially pass the baton to RTMA in the Rochester region area for the new year, as they will continue to host the advisory meetings. As many of you know, Mary Lee Boylan is no longer with SCDD, and I have officially become the new director of employment programs for the Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities with the University of Rochester. Today, I'm joined by Pat Dowse, who is a MACNY consultant. I'm also joined by Ruth Thompson, who is the pre-apprenticeship and training manager for Rochester Technology and Manufacturing. I'm joined by Shauna, who's the director of BOCE Center for Workforce Development. Also coming from Center for Workforce Development is Lori, our career training admissions advisor. Leslie Tanner, who is our workforce development coordinator, and Jenny Z, who's our student support and career advisor, all at BOCES 2 Center for Workforce Development. So talking about the Center for Workforce Development, They are all about higher education. We are in our final semester with our push-in design under the Council on Developmental Disabilities funding. And for the fall semester, we were able to enroll one student in welding for the fall. He's doing very well and he's enjoying his welding program. He also plans and is already set up and ready to go to continue his education with machining in the spring. He's focused on his goal of completing both welding and machining to become more marketable for employers and to go after potential advanced positions with his current employer. So even though we're passing the baton and we're going to talk next, we're going to have Leslie talk about a new program that is coming online with the Center for Workforce Development. Here at SCDD, we will continue to support CWD, Center for Workforce Development programs, and provide assistance with resources and recruitment for all of their higher education programs. Leslie.
Hi, thanks, Brandy, for inviting me to speak on this project that you guys worked so hard. I know it was presented first about a year ago, and we're excited to launch it in the summer of 2026. Our goal is to enroll 12 students who have graduated and either are eligible or pre-eligible for Access VR in this pre-ETS program. In order to do that, they'll have to be enrolled in a post-secondary institution. So they could be enrolled in MCC, they could be enrolled in CWD. And we're excited to use this as a transition program to help support our construction and manufacturing programs. So we're going to start at July 1st through the 30th. So it's going to be a 4-week program. We're going to run it Monday through Thursday from 8 to 11:30. And again, these are all students that have an IEP or are pre-eligible for Access VR services. They can be eligible. It's a little bit more of a challenge. So we are letting our districts who are very excited about this program in helping us to get the right students in this position that will be marketable and able to take on work in both construction and manufacturing. So the focus, again, I've already said, but we are going to include in there work keys. That is one of a big push for seats in CWD is getting students to have their NCRC, which means that they are work ready. So if you're not familiar with that, it's 3 tests. One is in math, one is workplace documents, so analyzing emails, looking at different reading, hit a little bit of reading comprehension in there. And then the third piece is graphic literacy. So looking at graphs and making conclusions from it, looking at dials and calipers and those sort of things to make conclusions. So that's a 3-part. We actually did with RTMA for Real Life Rosies. We had a lot of success with even students that did not have a high school diploma. So they'll speak more to that, but we're excited to incorporate that as part of this program as well. And the nice part about Work Keys is that it is aligned. Students can achieve either a 1 through 7 on each of those tests. And it's aligned to actual employment profiles. So you can look and say, okay, if they want to go into machining, they need to get maybe a 4 or a 5 in math, and maybe their literacy is maybe they only need a 3 for literacy, and maybe they need a 4 or 5 in the graphic literacy. So we're excited to implement that. We're going to include OSHA 10 as well as hands-on experiences in both construction and manufacturing. And we have a great teacher that knows both of those worlds and has worked with us at CWD for a long time, and we're excited to have him on board for that. We are interviewing for a second position that will be either a counselor to help support connections and social emotional. We're also going to be focusing on career readiness skills, and that person will do that. We have it'll either be a special ed, a transition specialist, or a counselor that will be that second piece in support. We're really excited that DePaul is going to partner with us. We're looking for grant money. We're actually hoping that maybe we're going to apply to the United Way summer program. And through them, they will do 10 during the month of July. They'll do approximately 10 hours of employment preparation. And then we're hoping to place some students for about a 30-hour paid internship in August. So the goal is to have this be a paid experience. So students that we know could be working at McDonald's and making a good, fair wage, and this is going to help them prepare them for lifelong careers. But we do feel like that summer is an opportunity for students to save money, help their families, and if we can have some even just minimum wage payment for this experience, we'll get a better success rate for this program. So we are looking for funding for that. And if anyone is aware of any funding sources or somebody that would like to partner with us on this, we obviously will take all the recommendations we can get. So I thank you. If there's any questions, I'm happy to ask or answer. You ask, I answer. Sorry.
Awesome. Thank you for all that information, Leslie. Like, it truly is exciting where this was all in the planning phase. I remember when Shauna first was like, aha, I think we can do something like this. And out the groundwork is here, you're here. Funding is pending, but the program is ready to roll. And that's what makes it just so exciting. Another employment first initiative in our area to make sure students are getting career training that leads them to high wage in demand careers. So good. All right. So that was our little commercial. Now we're going to roll into our pre-apprenticeship training information. Pat.
Good morning. Good morning. So this slide is just if you were wondering what we've been up to, this is the highlights of what it is. You heard earlier in the opening that there are actually two direct entry programs. New York's premier manufacturing direct entry, which is what we refer to in New York as our pre-apprenticeship training, because the intent is that once they finish whatever that training phase is, they have a direct entry into a registered apprenticeship position. So this slide highlights what each of these looks like. We're proud to say that advanced apprenticeship, as it says, paves the way for neurodiverse learners to succeed. It isn't just that; it's a program that invites any person who has an interest in that. But if they present as an individual with some challenges to learning and achieving and succeeding, then we're going to do some wraparound supports. We also offer the wraparound. Any partner that is part of the MACNY expansion is expected to, offer supports no matter what. And that wasn't even hard to suggest to our alliance partners like RTMA. So we will be working very closely as I see our colleague Lindsay from Rochester Works, who is the Disability Resource Coordinator and has been invaluable since the beginning of the project in making sure that anyone presenting with a need for wraparound supports gets connected that way. If other people on this call aren't familiar with Rochester Works and the Disability Resource Center, quick, get Lindsay's contact information and give her a call because she's awesome. Real Life Rosie's too is targeting women in manufacturing. We have been able to convince the Department of Labor that a program designated for women was valuable, and it was the first, and now it continues with strong support from Commissioner Reardon. She always claims that it's one of her favorite programs. So each of them looks a lot alike. They have a 12-week program. It's based on Tooling U to get them their Certified Manufacturing Associates course. So when Leslie talks about the ETS type thing and strengthening math and reading, this is key. This isn't a program for everyone. This is a program that really needs to make sure that somebody wants to use their hands, has some acuity in math that can be supported and or enhanced over time with mentoring and or additional training. They will all have a universal design approach to their learning, which we're excited about, and that takes some special attention by BOCES and or our community college partners. to make sure that they are not looking at things from just a targeted place, but you use universal design, plain language. Our Everyone enrolled will always have an opportunity for 3. We put 4 here because that's the best, but we're not holding any of our alliance partners to just that. They can do more, but we want to make sure that it's 3 to 4 interviews with employers. Typically, what happens too is they get to go on tours first. So everybody gets to experience things before they actually have to sit down and apply for something. And each of the programs has up to, as it says, $1,500 in incentives. Who doesn't like a little bit of extra cash in order to make sure that things work? But it's targeted over time for completion. So we truly can call it incentives. I do remind you, though, that people that are applying for these positions of these programs sometimes are individuals receiving SSI or SSDI, and we need to make sure that that additional $1,500 doesn't mess with their benefits package. So again, I reach out to Lindsay and others in independent living if you're connected to them to make sure that your benefits planning is also a part of what you're talking about with these students. Because of the connection to the workforce, to Rochester Works, they have access and are enrolling them in their program generally for data collection. And so we're able to offer transportation supports, childcare, work documents for those that need that, work attire, and even technology assistance, phones and other kinds of things that might be available through other projects. So nothing, hopefully, will become an additional barrier to their success. And then linked with, as we said, the disability resource coordinator, Lindsay's got her fingers, her toes, her head, everything in a little bit of everything. And she's pretty magical when it comes to connecting the dots. So you're encouraged once again to make sure that you have a relationship, because she can't encourage your people or your services if she doesn't know about it. So that's a plug for Lindsay to make sure that she knows just as much about you as you know about her. Ms. Brandy.
Thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
All right. So Ruth is going to tell us about all the great things that have been going on with RTMA in our Rochester area.
Good morning, everybody. I am really excited to meet you and join in my first meeting with the program and share the exciting news that we've had with the successful rollouts of our Real Life Rosies and our A2A cohorts that have kind of happened back to back and simultaneously. I'd like to give a shout out to Elise, Goodlet, who has been a big supporter, and especially as we've been wrapping up both of the cohorts. We wouldn't be this successful without her stepping in and assisting while I've been out taking care of some being out on leave. So I appreciate you very much, Elise. Thank you. With the Real Life Rosies program, we were really excited to partner with CWD, and Rich and Carrie from the RTMA got this program up and going. And then just as it started, I was brought on to support the rest of the team and get everything rolled out. And while it was new and in progress, we had 12 successful graduates that graduated last night with the support of the CWD team and the benefits and services that we were able to support them with. And a big part of that in making this program successful for them was the wraparound services. I don't think many of them would have been able to complete the program or find the accommodations to help them get to the finish line had it not been for the wraparound services. And speaking to that manner, it came down to transportation and working out different opportunities and different methods for different needs for the students and getting them out to Spencerport from the Rochester area, in addition to supporting probably at least 3/4 of the class with childcare support. And within this cohort, we had 2 gentlemen graduate in addition to 10 of our women that graduated the program. And one of the gentlemen in the program also was receiving childcare support. So it was a big support for them. A lot of them hadn't seen an opportunity where they were going to be able to become self-sufficient and grow and develop themselves. So having the opportunity, not just for the free training, but then being able to have somebody who was going to be supportive and follow them in their career and their journey and work with them on job placement and then going in streamlining into apprenticeship programs to continue their journey and growth personally and professionally was very enticing to them. And at different times when it got hard, we just reminded them that we're here for you. Just because class ends, you've still got us. Our goal is to get you in to an accessible apprenticeship program and working with our partners. And it really was a win-win for everybody. And I'm really excited to see our partners stepping up and opening doors. They've come to matching days for interviews, and now they're having folks come in for in-person interviews in their facilities, as well as the fact that our partners open the doors for tours. So it was a wonderful experience for them, and we are just over that finish line. So we've got some surveys that we need to get out, as well as a moratorium to just look at best practices, some lessons learned as we prepare to continue our relationship into the February rollout of another Real Life Rosies program with them in February. Which then leads us into back to back. We rolled out Real Life Rosies September 16th, and then right into November, barely a month later, Rich said we can do this, and we started A2A with the Forward Center at MCC, which was quite different. It was definitely more of a condensed version. We did this in a matter of 5 weeks with support of their programming, some lessons learned from just working with CWD on how to have a smoother orientation to avoid taking away time from the instructors, because their time is so valuable for these participants to get the most out of the program. So we did hold an orientation prior to starting at the Forward Center just to get quite a bit of those things out of the way and to provide more soft skills services and support and mock interview trainings that didn't take away from their classroom time with the instructor, which was very beneficial. And Brandy, thank you for coming in and supporting us with doing some mock interviews with our students once they were prepared. So with that cohort, we had a total of, I believe, 11 students that have graduated successfully. And Elise may have, if I'm not misspeaking, has one more student that is working on completing their CFMGA so that the full cohort will have been successfully completed. We have found that life happens, and for those that don't, a lot of the students that are in our courses don't necessarily have an extended family or tribe that they can count on for support when life happens, whether it's health issues, childcare, just insecurities as a whole. So we have worked with the students to get them to the finish line. And with that being said, Elise has been wonderful supporting students with makeup exams and working on their. Oh, I lied. So it looks like Elise just popped a message in here. You could pop on voice too, Elise.
I was just answering questions in the chat for you as you talk, Ruth.
You're awesome. Thank you. So it's been very successful, very eye-opening, and the needs were slightly different from our needs in Spencerport. Transportation was easier. Yeah, childcare with the course being during the day was lightened, but we did have some things, some students who just financially didn't have Wi-Fi solutions. So working on getting them MiFi set up so that they could continue their education while they weren't in the classroom and or didn't have the transportation or time because they were working full time to go to a cafe or library to study. And as we all know, the A2A program started up to help folks with different abilities. And we are proud to say that between MACNY, RTMA, and the A2A and Real Life Rosies, Rochester was able to support our first deaf student. So that was a huge champion for us. That Jim Mallory and his team were very supportive. We met up at a event at the end of Disability Manufacturing Month, and we connected, and he guided us with quite a few different supports that were available that we could use different technical options such as A2A. We worked streamlessly to secure an interpreter for the program, and who knew in one of the most populated deaf and hearing impaired cities that there is a shortage of interpreters. So we worked through that. Elise and myself, some days were his one-on-one coach for some different tours, and by that we would just scribe for him and make sure when we were on some tours, initial startup and tours at the Forward Center, we were making sure that he was included. He had our full focus for that one-on-one time so that he could be fully immersed. And we used the software that we had downloaded on a separate computer that we ended up allowing the student to use for the duration of the program. So we had Otter.ai downloaded on an RTM laptop so that should there be an emergency, we would be able to have an interpretive service available for him. Rich?
Yes. So I wanted to add, you know, I wanted to thank Colleen from MACNY. I don't know if she's on this call. I'm actually in the car, but I want to thank Colleen from MACNY for her guidance. You know, we were able to put these programs together in just a matter of weeks, and Ruth literally came in, hit the ground running. It was just like Ruth came in and I was like, here's the pool, here's the deep end, shove. So I want to thank Ruth for being flexible and using her experience with that, because the amount of attention that was needed for nearly what we started with nearly 25 to 30 total people in these two programs. You know, that's why we hired a position. That's why we brought Ruth in. So I want to thank Ruth for that. And I also want to thank Elise, who kind of had to shift her responsibilities mid-program for what she's been doing for the RTMA by stepping in, because with Ruth being, you know, out of commission for a couple of weeks and then having to deal with, you know, two programs at once, I'm very proud of the team we've assembled at the RTMA for this. You know, Bob and I received a contract in late August. We worked with BOCES to put together a program that we started promoting before the ink was dry on a contract. We did the same thing with the Forward Center at MCC. So, you know, I want to make sure if there anyone from MCC's in the room, and we also did the same thing with Rochester Works. I don't know if Viata's in on this call or Dave, but or Lee, but Rochester Works is always an incredible partner. So now that we've learned a lot that we've learned over the last couple of months here, we now know going into 2026, as we do, you know, at least 4 of these cohorts, if not more, you know, that we have a lot to go on, and we have a lot of stuff that we're going to learn out of this. But, you know, overall, I'm very proud of what we've been able to do in Rochester, jumping into this in the 11th hour and having a lot of success. And now I'm ready to get some of these folks some jobs, and then hopefully in my role, sign them up as apprentices the next, you know, few months. So I want to thank everyone for their support with this program, and, you know, reassure everyone that this program is definitely here to stay. And, you know, I'm a competitive person by nature, and I know MACNY created everything and we're friends with a lot of people at Mackney, but I'm always like, I want to do it just as good, if not better than them, because we have a great community here. You know, and I joke with my colleagues at Mackney on apprenticeship on this all the time, but I want to make sure everyone knows that, you know, we literally learned on the fly a lot on this program. And Ruth and Elise really did a great job with that. So I want to thank them for everything that they did with it. And even everyone behind the scenes, you know, Nipphone making flyers, Carrie and I doing calls at the beginning, Bob doing the contract, Naomi in our office with the, you know, we have to buy this. Let's go buy this. I think our credit cards at the RTMA might have skid marks on them from all the stuff we had to buy in the last 3 months. So you know, we've used them a lot. So want to thank everyone for their and everyone in this virtual room for their partnership and support as well.
Nice.
Thank you, Rich. Jim.
Yes, I wanted to give a shout out to Rich and RTMA and Bob. The last year has been amazing. We just hosted a members meeting with RTMA last week, and we had like 20 some companies come that day. We had a panel with RTMA and companies and deaf students, and we had one company say, "Do you have a deaf student that can interview us this afternoon?" They interviewed in the afternoon and they were hired, I think, the next day. Another company came up to the leader that trains the manufacturing of the deaf and hard of hearing. He says, "We need 15 of your trained people." So we have a great problem now. We got to get more people trained and put them in the pipeline. And it's all, I mean, RTMA and all you folks, you know, Brandy, Ruth, see deaf and hard of hearing now with MCC. It's really amazing the growth and the support and the collaboration. So I want to thank all of you on this. It's really having a huge impact already, and we're just getting started. And I know Jennifer are going to be partnering with her on some things. So this really is, and Lindsay has been, you know, with us every step of the way, helping these students. So it really, this group has been amazing, and we're already seeing the impact on deaf and hard of hearing in the Rochester community and area, and it's already starting to scale out. So I just wanted to thank Rich and everybody else.
Well, thank you, Jim, especially, you know, I know with you and Linda, we were able to get off the ground, and Miranda with all the stuff that she's been able to do for your team to help these folks. You know, when Janet from Pfister, you know, texted me later that day and was like, "Yeah, we're offering this young man," and I'm like, "He's going to do his co-op next semester after he comes, you know, back to campus." I mean, we never do events where people literally get hired the same day. So that's a huge win. And I'm excited for that. And we're not stopping from, you know, we're not stopping from there. We're going to keep it going.
Well,
That's what this is all about. I'm sorry, Pat.
Brandy, I'm gonna make a pitch to all these people that are talking about what's going on in Rochester, because, you know, I've been doing this kind of work for 35 plus years, and they always say if it starts in Rochester, it can go anywhere and it'll do great things. Truly, I'm not teasing. That's exactly how people talk in Albany. If projects and things start in Rochester, they're done with quality and they succeed. So the challenge from Pat Dowse to you all is that you are not the only region in New York that has a deaf community that needs to have these kinds of things brought to the attention of manufacturers and other businesses. So let's figure out, as we move forward with the success in Rochester, how to show people how to do it other places in working with the deaf community at large. And we will be, with Mackney's assistance, working with other alliance partners like RTMA in other parts of the state. So stand ready to be mentors and teach the other alliance partners, Rich, as well as Jim, bringing, you know, success to the other agencies around the state that offer the same kinds of inclusive supports that NTID does, and teaching businesses how to do business with the deaf community. So that's your challenge. The gauntlet's down. And I know, Rich, you said you're competitive, dude, so I'm going to hold you to it. So.
Well,
That's
and
why I hired Ruth. Ruth is my ace now. So, you know, every bullpen needs an ace.
So I'm Rich's pre-apprentice is my favorite joke right now. I'm learning a lot from him and the rest of our team, and we're just growing to be better. And I'm not sure, Rich, if I've even let you know this, but Jim and his team at NTID, we're going to do a bit of a moratorium at, at the beginning of the new year so we can go over what resources we found after we worked with them, review some of the training materials that I've put together quickly for our cohorts. For those on this call, not only did we need to bring interpreters into the classroom, but we needed to make sure that our instructors and our students were understanding of the environment that they were going to be in for the classroom. So everything from the pace of the class to being respectful to just really holding ourselves accountable for not over speaking others and making sure that we had transition times to get to who was going to be speaking next so that the interpreter and our student were able to be fully immersed in those conversations.
Good for you.
So there was a lot that went into making the cohort successful, and we're looking to really take that. I've got pen to paper, but we're gonna continue reaching out to NTID and their support to really fine tune and hone in and see what else we can bring to the table for that so that we can be prepared and then share with others and be a best practice for the group.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So, and then that leads us to our upcoming cohorts. We talked a little bit about with the Real Life Rosies overview that we'll be rolling that out in February. And I know some of our friends at CWD may be taking a look at the dates and saying, wait, we don't start that early in February. We're going to do some orientation and soft skills work at RTMA. So that's why you're seeing some of those dates that might look a little off for you. And we'll work with that once we get into our planning session. And then we're going to hit the ground rolling with our A2A starting mid-January and the same type of format. At least a half a week to a full week at the RTMA prior to them going to the Forward Center and jump kicking with that. So there is our overview. I feel very successful. There were some lessons learned and some bumps, but our amazing team all stepped in. And as Rich notated, Nip, Carrie, everyone came together, and Naomi and Bob and Rich for whatever was needed from graduations to recruiting. So my heartfelt thanks to everyone on this call and our team. And Macney. Colleen was a wonderful. I'm sure she's probably tired of me being on her speed dial daily for support, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for those kind words. Thank you for RTMA picking up the torch and running with it. I know when we started this process in Mohawk Valley in 2023, the goal was to help improve outcomes for people with and without disabilities in the manufacturing space, and that is happening. And the scaling of it is just, it's so awesome to see it go from a piece of paper to we're impacting so many student lives. So upcoming cohorts in the Rochester area are listed. So just a couple more updates to get us through this meeting. In October, we celebrated NADIM, which is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and we celebrated it in grand style. There was something going on, it felt like almost every day, but certainly every week. We were a part of the Career Mentoring Day. I was able to have FaceTime with students with disabilities looking for their career choices. And we did that through county positions, but even for myself, I learned how vast our county is with positions in manufacturing, in human services, in justice, and in probation. Like there's so many things there. So that was a great way to engage with some students in high school. Followed up with, there was a webinar in partnership with Rochester Works. Lindsay Murphy, our disability resource coordinator, does a monthly disability job search group. And I was happy to be invited and talk about all things inclusive apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship training programs to the people who showed up that day. And Dream happened in October. Disability Rights and Employment Awareness Month is now New York State take on the National Disability Awareness for Employment, bringing it statewide, really highlighting our Employment First initiative and how it's turning into policy and practice. We were able to highlight advanced to apprenticeship, and we got a really great reception on people in on the state level getting more information about what we're doing and how it may be coming to their corner of the state as well. And we ended the month, the last day of the month, our TMA was able to get us into OptaPro, which is one of the manufacturers here locally. It was great to be able to meet so many people live and in person for an in-person interview. We do so many virtual things these days. So OptaPro is an amazing company that is homegrown, came out of the family's barn, and has been doing their thing for a lot of years with really big contracts in all things optics. And yes, that was a tour that was directed for employment support professionals. And we had a great showing of workforce development coordinators, job coaches, transition specialists. So it was a great opportunity and something we look to do more of because we know that the people who are providing these supports, who are walking alongside folks to employment and workforce development, need to see inside of these companies too to really be able to promote them in an informed way as we continue to get people into our manufacturing industry. All right, Pat, do you want to talk about sharing the news? Uh-oh,
Sure.
there we go.
There we go. So this is in regards to while you're doing all these amazing things here in Rochester, we are as MACNY busy looking at building connections to the other alliance partners around the state. So here we have this neat little slide that kind of highlights the different things that we've done, where we're going, the training for our workforce development specialists. We had originally targeted that work to happen in 2025, and everything exploded and we got so busy that we couldn't actually do it. But it's okay because people like Ruth have joined and other people down in the Cap region, this wonderful gal by the name of Alexander. So we're going to explore dates in January that go out to all of our partners in regards to helping workforce development specialists be trained in the kinds of things that are related to understanding universal design, working with people with disabilities in general, learning styles, all those kinds of things. And then feedback from them will empower us to look at with MACNY what else gets added to the training regimen, because we don't always think we're going to find really, really cool people. And sometimes they need a little bit of extra training too. So we're making sure that while we're expecting others to do things, we're doing it in-house for our staff and our partners. So that's what the training piece is. We also, of course, will always, Jim and others from the working with businesses, as you are building what you do, we would hope that you would share overall what's happening so that we can make sure that there's people out there, there's organizations like the Yang Tang Institute and in the DD world, a program called Eleversity right there from Rochester that do training for staff. But what are we doing to make sure that the business HR folks understand all these things? Ruth, you described beautifully how you made sure that the student was being not only just given what he needed, but the students that he was going to interact with understood the equity, the etiquette that goes along with who he is and how he learns. Those kinds of things aren't what typically an HR director learns about in an HR training program, because that's not what they do. So we're also looking at into the last quarter how to create capacity for giving those HR directors what they need in either actual trainings or trainings that are already available, like through NTID Workforce Development, like through CWD at BOCES too, making sure that that catalog is available to them and they're not having to kind of create it on the fly, but can connect with the partners. So we'll be looking at that into the last quarter of this grant process. Conferences coming up. We're not stopping and telling people the good news about what happened in New York and how we did it. So you see there, National APSE is an organization on a national basis that supports job coaches and job developers who work specifically with people with disabilities. So we'll be presenting there. New York State APSI has its own group here, and we'll be again highlighting things that have been going on. And then ding, 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 this is back to you. What else are you doing, or do you know about where can we showcase the program to show off all the things that need to be talked about as we move forward and MACNY takes this on with its manufacturing alliance partners across the state. We also have this collaborative opportunity that we started, which is a fancy title for a new group. But basically, we invited any organization, any group that was doing other things in manufacturing to meet on a quarterly basis and tell us all the good news. And we tell them what's going on. So if you are also working with any other entity in Rochester or on a national, statewide or national basis that should be part of this group, we just basically get on and talk to each other about this is what we've been up to. This is who we're working with. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And we make sure that if there's advocacy and systems change issues that need to be addressed, we will broach it and we'll talk about it. So we'll be totally open to new ideas and new people. That's how we found Jim. Jim joined us as a part of the work that he was doing there in Rochester. So we're excited. And then looking forward to, we finished the work with continuing education. Community colleges are a big part of the success of this program. They offer the related training, both for the direct entry as well as for registered apprenticeships. So we've been regularly getting on their agenda to talk to them about what's going on with A2A and Rosie's. And then we were lucky enough to land a spot with New York State Scion, which is the project name. The program name is now a program. It was a pilot, it became a project, and then it became a program under the Department of Labor. And that's the program that sponsors and pays the workforce centers for the disability resource coordination services and lets people like Lindsay and others in our region, in our state, do what they do. So we're busy shouting it out, but we certainly want to make sure that if there's specific things that you think should be shouted louder or better or different, please bring it to our attention through Ruth and or directly to Brandy, since she's right there in your region. And we'll be happy to make sure that people know a lot about what's happening in Rochester. You want to talk about the evaluator though, Brandy?
So thank you for that, Pat. And yes, the same thing with Scion, the same thing with our pre-apprenticeship programs, right? We started Advanced to Apprenticeship as a pilot, then it was a project, and now it's a program. I love that. So in that, there's always program evaluation, right? So we're working with our external evaluator to complete our final evaluation report for our year 5 of our CDD funding. It definitely has been a ride for sure with where this project started. I know Rich and many of you on our advisory were a part of those very first meetings with this first iteration, and now where we are today. I think it's so amazing that we've created something that truly has sustainability and impact for the people we support in our community. So at this time, I know we've been doing a lot of chat, which I love. Everyone's input with making sure questions got answered. That is awesome. I want to thank everyone for the congratulations as well. I look forward to where we can grow with this role that I'm in, and just continuing the employment first work across our state and our nation. So I wanted to make sure if there were any other questions that didn't get, oh yes, Kate from Job Path with the Art, thank you for that shout out about the Rochester Area Community Foundation as a potential place for funding for their summer program with the pre-ed services. Thank you, Jen. I'm going to make sure we get that correction done within the edits of the slideshow. We talked about that certified manufacturing. I think it's great that and this creation and partnership with the Center for Workforce Development, the Rosies started with being able to have those 2 credentials, that national readiness, career readiness certificate, as well as the certified manufacturing associate. So really having people leave this program ready to show an employer what they got because they've done it and can do it. All right. I think all the other questions have been addressed, and Any questions from all? Oh, Lindsay. So with Rochester Works in collaboration with Access VR and NTID, there will be an employer training series coming in the spring. So everyone look out for that. And yes, I think I've made it to the bottom. All right. Thanks again for those congratulations. I'm going to flip to the contact information because moving forward, all things pre-apprenticeship training will go through RTMA. So I have Ruth's. Uh-oh, there it is. Wait a minute, maybe. Can everyone see it? There we go.
Yep.
Okay. So there is Ruth's contact information. Of course, Pat and I will remain an ally, a resource in alliance with all of you on this great work. So, any questions? Let me check the chat again.
I have a question to Ruth and the team at RTMA in regards to initially when this project started, before it became a program, we purposely looked to do outreach and include a number of the organizations that would be referred to by Access VR as providers, right? If you have any need to add any more of those in regards, or maybe just you work with Lindsay to figure out if she's got the contacts already, then they don't necessarily have to be invited to this meeting. But I know that there was a lot of energy around the recruitment process to include more people that were being supported by these agencies, either through one of the other state agencies, OPWDD or OMH, and certainly with support from VR and the Commission for the Blind as well. So let us know if you need those kind of resources, because certainly Brandy's got her connects, but so does Lindsay in regards to supporting the universal design and the wraparound supports that might be needed. But I'm confident Lindsay's probably got this, so I'm talking to the converted, but might as well put it out there.
And we do have some providers who sit on this committee, but definitely
Right.
there is a comprehensive list that can be provided by Lindsay or even myself as needed. But yeah, we're just making sure that that inclusive, like with Ruth's background, that inclusive and equity focused recruitment continues, which has been done, and we look forward to seeing where it grows. Thank you for that note, Pat. Let's see. Yes, so this presentation, this meeting today is being recorded and it will be sent back out to our team along with the flyers from the upcoming cohorts and Ruth's contact information with that interest form. If you know someone who's interested, you can send them that link and they can get tied right into our TMA's portal. All right. Any last words from our friends at RTMA or Center for Workforce Development? Hey, let me see if I can see everybody here. All right. Well, if we're all set, thank you everyone for being here today. It was great to be able to give you some updates of everything that has happened over our last quarter. And we look forward to seeing you in March with Ruth and the RTMA team taking the lead. I'm going to show up and I'm going to try to be quiet, but we'll see. So I am so excited to see where everything grows. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. I'm sorry, is there anything else? I want to make sure I don't miss anything. All right. I don't see anything else. Okay. Well, I think we're good to go. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.